kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e. Oh, kilo bifenda e. You left so kilo doomba. Yelelelelele doomba. Where do I take me go be?
Hey, 27 my brother young, 17 August 3 o'clock in the morning. Can't forget that the day was a Monday. I burned the weed from my no light just a blonde. We chatted one last time when I become my Sunday shop. I asked I was king and you tell me chat. And after that now it's a different story. No man no go use like I reach for heaven. Big thing that my oh my grandma miss you too. I know when I deal with us always in spirit watching. This are the day I'll be here forever in all. Your memories forever live. I pray the Lord your rest.
Started from the burden, but you end your journey halfway. Crying up to God, how you got me feeling this way. The love and passion you had for the music, no be ever play. Remember how we drink, smoke, knock beat like every day. Last we had together, don't delay because you know today. But God knows why you had to go before you start the pay. Even though not there for record song, kill all this still so we all this great work, this shut down, cut your cafe.
We all need one another. Every day, man, they suffer. I'm chasing this money to pay all the bills and buy a crib back for me. Say, I don't believe what this kid got talk from me. After this hustle every day, why you want live when I this way?
Bifenda e, bifenda e, kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e.
Mike, I'm Kobawe, Kilo, Wachi Bake, Bambo Kunko, Linji Chane, Kade Kirbugan, go bien, you and Ningo Nana, Moanonge, rest in peace, Rudolph Ngwa, Dola, any time for the competition in the way. You she wanna be fende, Kilo, if you win.
Kola Jeto Nosha, we mingo yo banja. Se avanro pampa, rest in peace to area killer. We mo ile coca. That's why I don't deceive. No way, oh, bam, bam, ta, eh. I can't believe. Say you don't go so soon. Now it's out to see. I wanna see you again. I wanna see you again.
When si big quick, ka do yenyu, ka mami ka ba kanda ka mu. Mem kwa ne when she song ako chuba ne kilo afem teni ayo ani nyua. I dey see you all time as you dey fly for sky. As you look down for me and then I catch a smile. Then you say my geometries, everything will be alright. Cause I always be by your side.
If you can find some peace, just trying to make it last. So, said I do be happy today, tomorrow's not guaranteed. For all our loved ones that have gone before us, prepare a better place so we will meet again. Peace, my
Bifenda e, bifenda e, bifenda e, kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e. We will be kwe kadu yenyu bifenda e.
I could face my and Rochester. Angel them could sing after Vespa. Every little thing, even little matter. I just want make you pour me holy water. Make we cherish them when me dead play me rhythm and blues. Make you call me a friend when me put on me dancing shoes. On my way play me something calypso, something way could make me diffuse. Make the DJ just put them on replay till we see the ending of each day. Now which way? And now which day? Till we see the ending of each day.
Yama with Kushini, Kushishi bonbon me funny we, Kushishi bonbon me song ni we. Just winning from now we be kuchachichi. Yata with Kushini, Kushishi bonbon me funny we, Kushishi bonbon me song ni we. Just winning from now we be kuchachichi.
From dust we came, to dust we shall return. If the world's you gain, your soul shall burn. And if the wages of sin is actually dead, your sins were not enough to have left the world yet. The news was such a blow, we lost a heart of gold. You more than a host of pros running today's shows. Your pay setting contribution shall be remembered. Till we meet again, rest in peace, little brother.
Now we you judge it, but see be quick, I know you will be chamber, but don't imagine you only when see. Et bon si tu pieds à bouiller. Et bon si tu pieds à bouiller.
J'ai bon web à mes boulets. We connaît yon dap. Dam bon bon ba mes boulets. Fura. Dolamba, dolamba, dolamba. Where do I do telingo be? Feng lamba, feng lamba, feng lamba. Feng la do yo kuntombi. Where do I do telingo be?
Well, you mean that you die as a combe, Busu and Masina, would a day I could tell me a dory, when do Jesse, I be Kutsiga, Sumurka, your table always bar, Merina, I still on the query, Kabanim go making the pre, one it puts a lungong. But it is what it is. You was patient, wouldn't cry legend, I celebrate you. Got a lot of brothers, but you were extra. Yeah, never left the gap, you took me to space. Many questions to ask, but I just have to say grace. Anytime I think of you people, they know for my face. I guess something will tell you when we meet face to face. Yeah. NBO Kane, Bad Rock Lexi, Mr. Ice, Y Military, T Nails, Man of a Whiskey, Oxby, Tila, Snoopy, Bonsais. We miss you till we meet again. One love.
The number one most important thing for every Amazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Amazonia, draft. The number one most important thing for every Amazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Amazonia, draft. The number one most important thing for every Amazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Amazonia, draft.
Good evening, dear viewers. Good evening, fellow Amazonians, all those listening. I want to be sure that my sound is okay and watching. If you can hear me loud and clear, for those watching on Facebook and on YouTube, just indicate that the sound is okay. And in just a few minutes, we will be having this exclusive discussion with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just indicate on the comment section. Oh, wow, thank you. Somebody just said the sound is quite okay. This is interesting. In a few minutes, we will have a brief discussion, or should I say a deep discussion, with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Mr. Eric Ateh, on pertinent and topical issues in the eve of the Award 22 draft. You do not want to miss this discussion. There are things that anybody can say in the government. There are things that any other person can say. And there are things that can be said only by a vice president or a president. And in just a few minutes, we will have the vice president here. Stay tuned.
The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft. The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft. The number one most important thing for every Ambazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Ambazonia, draft.
Once again, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Amazonians, and thanks for joining this very special broadcast. It is exclusive discussion with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Mr. Eric Ateh, and I am your humble host. Tonight, we are going to hit really deep into some very topical issues. You have been asking relevant questions. Why are Coopers reacting or acting the way they do? Are they doing so out of ignorance or out of arrogance? My opinion is that they're doing so out of both. They are both ignorant and arrogant. Some are really just evil. So much has happened. And I think that Coopers are lying in wait of their doom. Award 22 comes up tomorrow. Preparations have been taking place. The president has been touring counties and LGAs, talking to his people, listening to their cries, restructuring, rearranging, mobilizing, and already a lot of Amazonians have drafted. To my count, from last week's statistics, I would say yesterday statistics, more than 100,000 US dollars has already been drafted by Ambazonians, by stakeholders, not skeletons, not La Republicans, not Coopers. I heard an audio earlier today. Some individual sent it to me. Our wonderful queen, Kemi Ashu, sent it to me. The vice president sent it to me. The communication secretary sent it to me. And other friends sent it to me. And it was the voice of the madman, the crazy man, trying to tell Amazonians not to draft. It baffles me how a man could be so low, so unfortunately foolish, to realize that last year him and his activists started a campaign that they should not draft for ABC Amber TV. Ambazonians rubbished them, ignored them, came out in their numbers and drafted more than 60,000 about 60,000 US dollars for ABC Amber TV. Initially, last year, these same individuals, powered and enhanced by a demented Confucianist, never wanted the draft to begin. From the cabinet into their counties and LGAs, they created havoc, confusion, excess confusion. You would want to ask the question, but what is their problem? What is happening? Why should they react so mean? I wish I had the opportunity to write a monologue. Perhaps I would have read it to give you some history of these evil acts or evil mechanizations that started within the interim government. Unfortunately, I have no one. But what is there to say? It is a history we have lived and we have seen. Some of us, those in the cabinet, will tell you sometime in March 2021, a man rose up in the cabinet and told everyone that, hey guys, listen, we are tired. Let's hand the baton to Kondingi. Like, seriously? This is mad. That was crazy. That was the craziest thing. A man was so lofty in his head, and he thought that he could talk for everyone. He could talk and act on behalf of every Amazonian. This loftiness did not end there. When he failed to win some within the cabinet to believe in his rhetoric that the government is failing and not succeeding, he went ahead to craft a scam. The same Amazonians that he said are not succeeding and that are failing mobilized 135,000 US dollars. He swindled it, disappeared it. And one day came looking into the eyes of Amazonians and told them it was all a scam. And I've been asking this question. This man with a large mouth until today has not answered. When did you discover that it was a scam? How did you know it is a scam? Prior to your decision or proposition or whatever project you brought to the government, did you investigate the authenticity of it? What thing that is baffling is not the scam. It is those who have seen evidence of an individual who scam but chooses to be blind. If there's any time in my life I believe the scripture that says that the devil of this world has blinded them and they cannot see, this is the time. What spirit has blinded those who even think? The president says he has viewers and not followers. I believe viewers were entertained with live shows that started some months ago in the month of November into December. With a lot of excitement, they went into Zoom meetings and thought that they were going to despise our constitution. They thought that they were going to ignore the laws of Amazonia and they were going to do a purported impeachment. The same individuals who did impeachment and so-called replacement in a ghetto failed and Amazonians rejected it, today are now sending audios to say what we did out of hatred. That is the interpretation of their messages. That we really did not do so based on facts. We did so in hope and in wait of a fact. So that was our will. That was what we wanted. And we thought that after doing it by some method, we could have some evidence to justify. Now, evidence was not forthcoming. Mr. Anu woke up in the morning one day and told them, listen, all these things I've been preaching on my platform, there is no evidence. So they subscribed a young scammer in Germany by name Nancho to fabricate some evidence. And it still didn't work. But the president asked evidence way before Nanchop's fabrications. He told them, put your evidence together, notarize, and present them. We will take it from there. That was the biggest challenge ever. And it has gotten into the history books of Amazonia that a people seeking to prosecute a man were challenged and they went mute. Today, They want to keep on talking. I have one challenge for them. Tell them, notarize your evidence until then and present it. We're in court. After the insensitivity, we're in court. You now have a chance to present your evidence notarized. Until you do so and present it publicly, you have to shut up. Are you bold enough to do that? Tomorrow is one of those days that you're going to be telling Coopers to shut their big mouths up. You've already started within your LGAs and counties, mobilizing resources like never before. I've seen Amazonians that are willing to give double like they've ever given. Yes, there is every reason why you have to give triple, quadruple of what you've done before. Why? Because of this endeavor, Amazonia now has some dignity. It is registered in the history books that the best year in the history of the peoples of the former British Southern Cameroons, today Amazonia, was the year 2021, where they brought Cameroon in their knees, popcorns in the hills of Sabga. From every county, we saw Cameroon bleeding like never before because of a strategist that conceived one thing, the Amber War Draft. The Amber War Draft is a project that has been tested and that works. It is not something, a conception or an illusion like what Weber is proposing. Weber, on the other hand, is telling Amazonians, hey, let us do another experiment. Even though your interim government has succeeded and it has given to us some successes, let's abandon it and try some council. Failed politicians have failed strategy. You now understand why they cannot even pronounce the word Amazonia in any of their documents in the diaspora. Let's get into the depths of the discussion of today. The discussion of today is Award 22 and why Coopers react or act the way they are doing. What awaits them? The Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, Mr. Eric Ateh, is here to talk to the peoples of Amazonia. We've missed him for months. I would say for like 5 months. He's not been interviewed on this platform. And today he decided that before the president addresses the nation tomorrow, it will be important for him to lay the foundation for said discussion. I want to encourage somebody watching on Facebook and on YouTube to keep sharing, keep telling somebody, those watching in the home front, tell our people, get yourself whatever makes you comfortable. In the next 90 minutes, we will be talking with the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, and I am confident that he will rubbish some of the insensitive behaviors of the Coopers. Stay tuned as we come back with you just after the break. Mr. Vice President, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Paddy. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very loud and clear, and I think the floor is all yours to make an open statement to your people. By the way, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm doing fine. I've been, I heard your monologue. I have been very busy taking care of some personal issues, business. So I'm glad to be here with my fellow Amazonians to try to recalibrate our minds towards what works. Because the way I look at things nowadays is like there are people who have what doesn't work, and there are others who have what works. We have what works. We have what has worked. So we cannot abandon what has worked to follow what is in the abstract. My fellow Amazonians, I just came here today to have a conversation with you. During the course of this revolution, historically, there has never been a time when we have come so close to attaining our goal of independence. And all through these very, very troubled times, our president, Dr. Sako, has led us, and he has led us well. Why do I say that? When this interim government was created, was founded, I would say, the former president, Sisiko, who is now a prisoner in the dungeons of La Republique, did not want to embrace self-defense. At the time, people were still naive. People didn't know exactly how the international community was going to react if we embraced self-defense. When the unfortunate incident happened in Naira, and the former president and his people were abducted by the terrorist government of La République du Cameroon, it fell upon the shoulders of our current president, Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, to lead the nation. He looked at the situation as a visionary and as a man of strength and vision, and realized that you cannot continue going around the world protesting while your people are being killed. So he decided that the logical thing to do would be to encourage our people to defend themselves. When someone comes into your country or into your home and is abusing your people, shooting at you, killing your children, you don't sit and just cry. You don't jump from places to places and cry. No. You stand up and you pick up whatever you got, whatever is at your disposal, and you fend off the wolves coming to devour your children and your family. That is what the people of Ground Zero have been doing, on home front, I would say, have been doing. And this is all because the president had a vision to bring Ambazonians together, to recalibrate their minds and support our men and women on Ground Zero to defend themselves. Back in 2020, when he initiated the draft, I was in the cabinet. I was the director of cabinet. Some cabinet members, including me, had our doubts about the draft. We had launched the IG Ground Zero Connect, and we had about 600 viewers and participants. And then the president, in his wisdom, decided that if Ambazonians can take ownership of their revolution by contributing $1,000 each to their LGAs and counties, then we might be able to put things in perspective for La République du Cameroon and really give them hell as they try to annihilate our people. Those of us in the cabinet, when I mean those of us, I mean the majority of the cabinet, had their doubts. But the president said, you know what? I see something here, and I want us to do this. I told the president personally, I know other people told him too, that Mr. President, if you have seen something in this and you think it would work, I am 100% behind you. We went out and we galvanized support from our people. We sensitized them. We advertised the draft. And Ambazonians came out in their numbers and drafted. And because of the draft of 2020, our defense efforts on Ground Zero was transformed overnight. Before, our men and women were shot, and then guns bought by terrorist troops were thrown on them to expose them as naive soldiers who don't carry the right weapons. But because of the draft and because of the tenacity of our people, our defense chairs and county chairs and LGA chairs helped our people galvanize, acquire the tools that they need to tell La Republic that the days of them guns are over. And that is when La Republic started realizing, as the United States and other nations around the world had told them, that they will never, ever defeat Ambazonia. Because you cannot defeat a determined people. The yearning for freedom is something that is within. It is something that comes naturally. When one has been so battered, when one has seen their family members and their friends shot to death by terrorist troops, then one is motivated to stand up and say, no, I take a stand and this is not going to happen. I am going to defend myself. So in 2021, we had great successes. We inflicted a lot of pain on the enemy. Come 2021, we did the same. But guess what? There was a catch. Some disgruntled members of government, people that we had worked with for a very long time, capitalized on the stupidity and unconstitutionality of the chairman of the defunct Restoration Council. They kind of capitalized on the statement that he had made when the president was sworn in, stating that the president had 2 years. They capitalized on that and tried to push the president out. But it didn't start when it happened. It started way back in February, when we started seeing them in cabinet, campaigning and creating loyalties amongst themselves, hoping that the president will actually leave office in November, as Cometa had suggested. I say suggested because there is no clause in the Constitution that authenticates his utterances. No one man can replace the wordings of the Constitution. There was no term mandate in the Constitution. Cometa didn't have the vision to actually understand that the Ambazonian people will not buy that. Because when he swore the president in, he read the oath that is embedded in the Constitution that had no term limit or mandate. Then after the president said, "So help me God," and the people applauded the president, he came out with a statement and said, "Mr. President, you have 2 years." That in itself is dishonest, because he had no authority whatsoever to arrogate to himself the power to alter the constitution of our country. But you had intelligent people, learned people in the cabinet who capitalized on that stupidity and still proceeded to destabilize the Sako administration and sought to remove him from office illegally or forcefully. So what did they do? They started concocting stories. Mr. Chris Anu started talking about things that we didn't even know about. Capitalized on his hatred for Miss Iringwa, Madam Iringwa. Gave the president an ultimatum that if the president doesn't remove Miss Iringwa, he will leave the government. Which he did. He abandoned his position, and then on, he connived with some of his friends within the Restoration Council to start building some form of insurgency within the Restoration Council that would lead to the impeachment of the president. The president did all he could to bring reason to an insane situation and to an insane person. but he categorically refused to listen to reason. He proceeded to partner with Cometa, Dr. Epa, and a bunch of them in the defunct Restoration Council, proceed in impeaching the president without evidence. They concocted a story that the president collected $60,000 a month from CDC. That was debunked. They went into somebody's company account website in I think the person resides in Belgium, and they falsified his checks. A legitimate businessman who did business with CDC that the president had never spoken to or ever met. They falsified those checks and made it look as though the president was the one collecting those checks. Before we knew it, they passed judgment that the president was impeached. And then they decided to bring one of their people as president. But you know what? We only have one president, and that president is Dr. Ikome Sako. You don't wake up one morning after someone has succeeded in the way Dr. Sako has, and then you try to replace everything that he has done with something that doesn't exist. So when I go on social media and I hear Mr. Chris Anu say certain things, it baffles me, because this is a man that I used to respect. This is a man who used to be our voice. What has happened to him? And the only answer that I can find is that just because you start going to Boya with somebody doesn't mean that you're going to end up working with them right into Boya. Some people are going to just give up and just start being distractions. Going back to the story, after he levied those accusations on Madame Irene War, he decided to abandon his office. Before we knew it, he created his own TV station. I decided to go. I came out on ABC and I made a statement. I said, if you have created your own TV and now you have your own government, we have people on grounds on home front who are suffering. We have people in ground one who need help. Whatever money you make from your TV station, give it to them. But what is happening now? He is going out on his platform trying to collect money from Ambazonians to sponsor a private initiative like his TV. ABC TV is a people's TV. It doesn't belong to Dr. Sako. It doesn't belong to the vice president. It doesn't belong to Paddy King. It doesn't belong to anybody. But Chris Anu's TV belongs to him. And I was shocked the other day when I heard an audio from him saying that Ambazonians should not draft. You know what? Ambazonians are not drafting to give the money to Dr. Sako. The people of the various LGAs of Ambazonia are drafting to fund the men and women bleeding in Ambazonia to defend our people. We all know, and it has been said before, that 96% of the 2021 draft went to ground zero. 4% remained with the federal government, and that is what was used for diplomacy. How can you accuse Dr. Sako of things when 96% of the money that was collected for the 2021 draft was actually implemented on ground zero? Yeah, I know leaders will always take blame for everything, but to deliberately distort the truth and lie about someone just to destroy him is dishonorable. But I'm here today to tell Ambazonians that everybody can pick up a microphone and shout. But I'm here to appeal to every Ambazonian to come out and draft within your LGA and county. Because the money you draft will go down there to support the people who are bleeding to defend themselves against a brutal occupation force. I know some of you might be disillusioned because this bunch of ignoramus went into the National the Ambazonian Foundation and stole some money. So you might say, why should I give more money? Just for these big mouths to go in and steal it. Don't think that way. You know why? Because Ambazonian Foundation has now levied a lawsuit against all of them. President Sako is not a member of the Ambazonian Foundation. The vice president, myself, I'm not. Members of government are not. That foundation is an independent, registered foundation, non-profit foundation in the United States. I am not going to sit here and decide what the court and say and just tell you, hey, the court is going to decide this way or that way. Let the facts speak for themselves. When you are no longer a member of a foundation and you go into that foundation and you present falsified documents and you withdraw money, it is wire fraud and it is thievery. But I'm not going to pass judgment because I did not sue them. Dr. Sako did not sue them. The Ambazonian Foundation, which is a non-profit organization, did. So let them sort it out. So today, what are we hearing? People coming out with audios saying that we impeached Dr. Sako, but we didn't have the evidence. We have been waiting for the Restoration Council and other people who pushed us to carry on this impeachment process to actually bring the evidence. How do you convict somebody, execute them, and then after you kill them, you go back and you try to exhume them and say, hey, we killed you yesterday, but today we are going to, we want to present the evidence. Till this day,
That's a big
what
question.
evidence have they produced against Dr. Sako?
That's
So
the very
based on hatred and power mongering. I'll leave it at that, Paddy. Go ahead.
Yes, that is the big question, and I believe that's the foundation where we begin. VP, we have a lot of ground to cover today. You have touched on a lot of things, and as I'm following the comment section, the people are pleased with the history you've brought, the chronology, and the details you've brought. I'd like us to start really quickly. We might touch some aspects of history of this co-plotting and the co-plotters and their doom that awaits them. You do not want to pass judgment, but with us in the media, our business is always to anticipate judgment, and we have the allowance in reporting to do that because the evidence is before us. We can also see, examine, and talk. I want to inform Amazonians that our bloggers, I'm talking about our genuine bloggers and online activists like Kemi Ashu, went to the website where this case was placed. The government of Maryland published it, and that's where they got the details. You can go there and read it for yourself, and so that you can understand and compare truth with lie. Compare what Anu says with what is factual. Mr. VP, you've just mentioned the Ambazonian Foundation, aka Treasury, has taken Coopers to court. I know you must have read that document very closely. Very, very closely. You don't want to pass judgment, but I'd like you to do some examination. You have seen and heard, particularly Arno, the one who feels that he can always talk. You've heard his actions and reactions. And he has made statements like, we didn't want to do this before, right now we're going to do this. What do you have to say about that, if that is where we must begin?
What I would have to say about that is, he's a man who is full of himself. He doesn't know when to stop talking. I'm sitting right here. I know a lot that I'm not saying. You know why? Because to be a gentleman is to know when to talk and when to stop talking. The fact of the matter is, based on the lawsuit that I read, like everybody else, they committed wire fraud. That is my opinion. Based on that lawsuit, that's what it was. is wire fraud and is punishable by the law. That is a federal crime. You cannot go into somebody's business and remove money. But guess what? What does this all tell us? Why did they do it? If they created their own government, what stopped them from galvanizing support from the people who support them and help the people who are also supporting them maybe on ground zero? Why go into somebody else's business to steal money? Is $135,000 not enough? The counties and the LGS drafted their money last year. Mr. Chris Anu brought a deal that he knew somebody who could procure some things that could help our people on ground zero. The president trusted the former vice president, handed over that project to him and said, work with Mr. Chris Anu and Johnny Giawan to help the counties and the LGA bring support to their people through the person that Chris Anu has introduced to us. 135,000 just disappeared. And I have never heard a word of remorse from Chris Anu. The only thing he said was that it was a scam. Like you asked before, when did he know it was a scam? You know, it is very easy for somebody who doesn't contribute to the revolution to steal from the revolution. But it is helpful for those who actually dip their hands into their pockets and remove thousands of dollars and give into this and pay into this revolution. It is hurtful to those mothers out there who are babysitting children all over America, who dip their hands in their pocket to contribute $100, $200, $300 because that's all what they can afford. And you have a grown man in America who can go and get a job for $15 an hour, concoct a story, and just steal money from this government. And even after they did that, they went ahead, concocted their impeachment process, and said they impeached the president. You impeach the president, you say you have your own president, you have your own whatever. Go and create your own structures. But what have they been doing? They have been trying to how can you say the president is no good, but you want to take away his LGs, you want to take away his treasury, you want to take away his counties. Why can't you be original? Go and create your own thing. I think they are even less than Ayabacho. I even respect the AGF more than them, because the AGF has its own structures. If you hate Dr. Sako so much, and you say he's a failed leader, why are you trying to take something that he built? Create your own. Create your own structures and go do whatever you do. Don't go into the Amazonian Foundation and try to steal money, even though you're not part of it. It is wrong what they did. But like I said, I know for a fact that when a case is in court, it is always good to show restraint in the manner in which we talk. We don't want to talk too much about it. But you, as a journalist, you can say whatever you want to say. But as a member of government, all I'm going to say is that this lawsuit has nothing to do with President Sako. So when Chris Anu goes out there and makes an audio and says Sako has sued them, no, the president has not sued them. He has copies of the lawsuit in front of him. He can clearly see that it's the Amazonian Foundation versus the Amazonian Foundation is the plaintiff and the defendants are listed below. He can see that. You cannot be such a pathological liar that you lie to the point where you even lie on a document that everybody can see with their own eyes. That is not fair. Why would you hate the president so much that even in his own innocence, you're still trying to make him guilty? He did not sue you. When you refuse to hand over the console to ABC, ABC also sued you because you took their console without their consent. It cost $3,500. It's listed on the lawsuit.
Now, VP, this is something. Someone, I think Ochiba, no, not Ochiba, one of the activists, Fide, brought an audio to me, not the one yesterday or this morning, another video, brought it to my attention because this person was quite concerning. Somebody I respect a lot and I listen to. He said something to me. He said, Chris Ano is saying that he gave everything back to ABC Amber TV and there is nothing he actually took away. And I wonder how Mr. Ano could be so ignorant. He lies and he forgets. I tell people he doesn't know. He likes to lie. He lies like he breathes, but he's not very good at it. Because one thing he forgets is that the conversation he had with ABC board members were recorded. The meeting he had in the Zoom meeting where he said he's not going to give it was recorded. And then he goes again on his platform to tell his people that I have given them everything I took from them. There is nothing that is left with me. That is not the question I'm coming to. I just want to give that as an example so that you can tackle the question. This is the same person who woke up one morning and endorsed the Unity Warriors, and then the next morning he is against the Unity Warriors. The same person who told Ambazonians Cameroon has decided to celebrate the 20th May on the 17th and not the 20th, and then the next day he stays quiet. It's the same person who has given a lot of disjointed information, who does not have a single evidence of everything he says. What will you tell those individuals who have just decided not to even look at the facts? Mr. Vice President, over to you.
Okay. When someone is dishonest, it doesn't matter what you do, they are going to stay dishonest until somebody tells them that, you know what, it's time for you to stop. If Mr. Anu says he gave back the console, it is not my place to judge him or to judge his utterances. He's now in court. Let him go to court and prove that he gave it back. If the court says, yeah, we believe that he gave it back, then he's won, right? So that is not my concern. My concern is that sometimes a certain level of integrity is needed in everyone. Even when Mr. Arnold was the Secretary of Communications, there were times when he went out and said things and then we had to go and retract. You know this, Paddy. Because he was more interested in fame than this revolution. And that's why do I say that? Because when he threatened the president with this impeachment and everything, he said he was the voice of Ambazonia. The people know him. He insinuated that he's more popular than the president. So his main goal has always been to prove to everyone that he is the face of the revolution. But you know what? The revolution has 8 million faces. Chris Anu, your face is too small to be the face of the revolution, especially someone who talks like you. That's the first point. The other point I'm going to make is, I just want to address those people who just follow the crowd and bought into these lies. Let me ask you something, my brothers and sisters. We all, genuine Ambazonians, who love our country and who are fighting, who have been fighting for years, for almost 4 years, to free it. If someone came to you and lied without evidence, till today there is no evidence, what the hell are you still doing with them? If you know that this man is a liar, if you know that the Restoration Council impeached the president not based on facts, but based on hatred and power mongering, then what are you still doing with them? I mentioned here before.
Mr. Vice President, before you continue, Mr. Vice President, I would like us, as we communicating, to use the right. They did not impeach. They had a desire, attempted impeachment.
In their mind, they did. In their mind, they did. To us, it's irrelevant because it wasn't an impeachment.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's a supposed impeachment. So, in the mind, if a crazy man kills somebody and goes to court, he can plead insanity and say, I killed the person because I was insane. But it is still a murder, right? It is still a murder, even though he will be set free because he was insane. So that's what I mean. What I'm saying is that when you go and you concoct the story and you purportedly impeach the president like you claim you did, and then there are people who followed you, who just thought, oh my God, Sako is so bad. Sako did this. Look at what he did. I have the proof of this. They have. Now that you know that these people were all just blowing hot air, what are you still doing with them? Come back to your government. Come back and join your brothers and sisters so we can free our country. That is what it is. You go into the Ambazonian Foundation, you remove $40,000, you call fighters from Ground Zero, you give them little bits and pieces of just a few dollars, and then you ask them to make audios talking about unity warriors. What unity warriors for what? What are you talking about unity warriors? The ARFs are the unity warriors. The ARFs have been united. The ARS of Gotutunja, the ARS of Bui County, the ARS of Mezam, the ARS of Momo, that is our own unity within our structure. So I'm pleading with every Ambazonian who followed these knuckleheads blindly to come back into their LGAs, to come back and work with us so we can free our country. That is what I'm trying to do here. I'm not here to cast, I'm not a court. But what I'm saying is that I believe that what they did was dishonorable. But now that this case is in court, let the court decide if they did what they did or they did not. And if they did, the court will pass the judgment and we will know. But I would advise Mr. Chris Anu to stop propagating lies. Don't go out there on your TV station and keep talking about things that you don't know about. The president did not sue you. The Ambazonian Foundation did. The ABC Foundation, ABC did. The Southern Cameroon Foundation did. Those are the people who sued you. That's all I'm here to say. And to also
Mr.
encourage
Ateh.
every Ambazonian to come out and draft for their LG. Your draft money goes to your LG. If you have a problem with anything about this administration, you talk to your LGA chair or your county chair.
Mr. Ateh, we're going to get, Mr. Vice President, we're going to get into the Award 22, and definitely that is where we hope to round off today's program. But I want us to still nail on this a little bit. I think one of the reasons Mr. Arnold possibly is being cognizant of the facts, but chooses to give the narrative using Dr. Sako's name as a tag word is because that is the name that sells. That is the name that emotionalizes. That is the name that has been used to sell the evil agenda. They had to use Dr. Sako. They had to use Aringwa to sell an agenda. And to be honest, they succeeded in selling the agenda to a very lesser extent, mostly not to stakeholders, but to noisemakers on the media. Our evidence is this. In the so-called ghetto town hall, I insist it was a town hall in the slums, where Arnold took Coopers, La Republicans, and ADF, Kondengi, and everybody. It was an influx, a juxtapose, a mixed multitudes of evil practitioners. And they were having Zoom meetings of over 550 people. And now some have realized that this man is really not what he was, and they have departed. Some are scared of the lawsuit because participating in a meeting where you're plotting to kill the president, you can be a victim. Now look at this whole issue. Let's talk a little bit on something, and then I'll play an audio that Kemi Ashu published sometime, I think 2 days or 3 days ago, so that you listen, and then we will react on that, and then move into the draft. We don't need to waste our time on demented confusionists. Now let's talk about Bitcoins. You have individuals talking about Bitcoin. They call us Bitcoiners. And I laugh, Mr. Vice President, before I make a comment, I want you to react to the Bitcoin dark word that Coopers are trying to use to sell their agenda.
I don't even know. You see, it is so stupid in the first place. Let me just say that. Bitcoins. What I've like me, I have never traded in Bitcoins. I don't use it. I've never bought anything with it. I think I don't know if I don't, because how can I talk about something I don't even know? The thing is that Bitcoin might be some form of currency conversion. You know what I mean? I talked about it.
It's a virtual currency. It's a cryptocurrency.
It's a virtual currency. You can convert real currency to a virtual currency. So is Bitcoin the same?
And to add, it is a legal medium for interaction.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like no Amazonian, whether you're in government or in private life, is barred from trading in Bitcoins. Paddy, if you want to buy Bitcoins today and you have your money, who stops you from doing it? First of all, did somebody stop the vice president or the president or the secretary of state or even Chris Sano himself from buying Bitcoins? Any Amazonian can buy Bitcoins. There are people here who have Google Wallet. I don't know if it's the same thing. It's just a virtual money. If I want to order something and I don't want to send a check and I don't want to run my credit card, I can just go to my phone and just go through Google Wallet. The money comes straight from my account and the stuff is delivered at my home. Isn't that what is all this fascination with Bitcoins? I think it's just a coin phrase to paint us black. But you know what? It doesn't matter. We love being black because we are actually black. So maybe, so it's just very funny how people say that. So let's not waste time on this Bitcoin nonsense because it just portrays a lot of ignorance. What is Bitcoin? It's just like, for instance, if somebody finds out tomorrow that an Amazonian who serves in this government, a volunteer government, has stocks in the stock market. Having stocks in the stock market doesn't mean that you are using the people's money to buy your stocks. You know what I mean? Having Bitcoins doesn't mean you are taking government money to buy stocks. Even the president has the right to own Bitcoins. I don't know if he does. He's never discussed it with me. I have never had a conversation with anybody about Bitcoins. I've heard of it, but I've never invested in it. So it's of no consequence to me, Paddy. Let's move on.
Yeah, with your permission, as we move right ahead, so that we can cover the much discussion we have tonight. I have thought about this whole Bitcoin thing, and I have a word for Amazonians who are watching right now, listening to the vice president. Now, when you type, every time, listen to it now, register it. Every time you type Bitcoiner, what you are saying to yourself, your generation, your children, is that you're primitive. I'm primitive.
Exactly.
I've chosen to live in the 60s while we are in today. I am dull. I'm a demented Confucianist. I'm so stupid. That is what you say. And I'm telling everybody watching now, when you get them say Bitcoin, just put their hashtag primitive in its kind. And I think that will help us to solve a problem. I'm not picking no calls now because I'm live. I think people are trying to call. I cannot pick calls now. Before the vice president leaves, he is going to receive some of your calls. We have a heated discussion to rise on with. So you look at a man like Chris Anus. Anus is supposed to be, purportedly, he says he's a journalist, rushing to catch up at his old age, retirement. He's trying to recover a career, purported journalism career that has failed. Fortunately, the Amazonian struggle has given to him the opportunity to do some things. Anus is also talking about Bitcoiner, and you are listening to him. This is the danger when you follow demented Confucianists or people that are lagging. Now let's listen to an audio, thanks to Kemi Ashu, of another demented Confucianist, Mr. Vice President, and right after that you will react to it.
Dr. Epa was about to speak. Dr. Epa, are you still in the position to speak? I just wanted to say something. I think Esther Song has spoken what I wanted to say. Okay, and I want to thank my friend for what she has spoken. we said that we're going to bring out the evidence that Sako has embezzled money or with his financial misappropriation, I demanded that I just need a hardcore evidence, just hardcore one, and Sako is gone. But we have been delayed on this. Those who went and did the audit, and that is my point in the Restoration Council. I need that core evidence, and Sako be off. It came that Mola Edi had some evidence, and Nancho had evidence. And nothing is coming out. That is my concern. Then this Sako will not be making more. I bet you. So let's have those evidence. If we don't have those, Sako will continue, talking and people will be believing in him. But if there is one hardcore evidence, and some of us go to that chief ABS, Sako will not think. And Reverend Aswan has just spoken something. We should not mind so much of what is going on right now. But if there is serious firepower on ground zero, the game will change. So I will not repeat what you have said. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Epa. We hear you. But I will ask this question to you. Have you people done well to try to reach out to Mola Edi on several occasions and he's not responding?
Well, Mola Edi was to come and testify. I don't know what Anne is doing. Anne is the chair of Government Affairs Committee. And we wanted to meet with Mr. Nancho. Until we had a meeting that he was coming, he didn't come. I hear that he was in another meeting. Another separate meeting was there somewhere. And I just looked at the whole situation. If we have those things, let's bring them out. A lot of Ambazonians are very discouraged. They are not even coming to watch ABS or even the Tambo. But then we're waiting. Although we have impeached Sako on major things which are constitutional, but what Ambazonians want to hear is about the finances. So a lot of them don't even understand that when you attempt to dissolve the parliament, that is an impeachable offense. They don't know that. A lot of them don't understand that. Because it is not in La Republic. And it becomes very, very serious.
Yeah, Mr. Vice President, I don't think we should waste so much time. It's about 5 minutes. We have lots of other things to talk about. You have listened to him. He mentioned Mola Edi has disappeared. Those were individuals who claimed that they had evidence against the president. Nanchop has gone mute. A time has come for him to put in fact, these crazy individuals. I want to tell Ambazonians listening before the vice president respond that Mola Edi and Reverend Asong disappeared close to 70,000 in Fako. The Fako that they are now accusing the president, they disappeared it. Please, Mr. Vice President.
Okay, there are two things I want to talk about. The other one is just trash. The two things I want to talk about, let me start, before I come to Mulaidi and Ashon, let me go to Dr. Epa. Dr. Epa was a member of the Government Affairs Committee of the defunct Restoration Council. Someone brings a case to you, and he's sitting there talking about constitutionality. It's a shame that you can claim to represent people and you don't even know the Constitution. You cannot be a lawmaker and you don't even know the law. The fact of the matter is committees don't pass judgments on anything. A committee within any parliament in the world, even that of even during when the defunct Restoration Council was still in existence, Committee members are there to just do their investigation. After they do that investigation, they find the facts, or they don't find the facts, they present it to the entire house. Then the entire house will say, hey, what did you find? We didn't find anything. We'll say, okay, we'll throw it out. If they say we found something, this is the evidence, then the entire house has to vote for impeachment. But Kometa and EPA hijacked the Restoration Council, and Kometa was signing things out of the Restoration Council from committee and not from the whole house. So what they did is they usurped the authority of the LGA representatives that represented their various constituencies within the Restoration Council. He also made mention of the fact that it was something very funny, that the president was impeached because, according to them, the president dissolved the parliament. The president did not dissolve anything. What happened was, after they usurped the authority of the members of the Restoration Council and started signing out memos from committee, the counties came into a conclave and decided to pull out their representatives from the Restoration Council because it had been hijacked by a few Christiano supporters within those committees. So when they withdrew those people, the president had to sign an executive order saying that because the counties and the LGAs do not have representation in the defunct Restoration Council anymore, it is of no consequence anymore. That's what happened. Come back to Mulaidi and the nation. How did this problem in FACO start? Paddy, I think you give me a little leeway to give our Ambazonians a little background history to
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
The floor is all yours.
How did the problem in FACO start before all the hatred for Dr. Sako? The problem started in Moyoka, where Comrade Fomber was the defense chair of Moyoka and also the defense chair of the county. No one brought him in. This is somebody who started fighting even before the advent of the LGA by LGA, county by county. That's why I respect him. If you see an Ambazonian who started fighting, galvanizing support, and sponsoring boys down there to defend themselves, even before we came up with the APP, you know that that person has courage. I respect him for that. Okay. When Reverend Ashton came into FACO, some people in Moyoka LGA started supporting that faction, and others supported the Fombat faction. So Fombat left with his people and created something called FACO Action Force. I have always not been in support of the FACO Action Force because I believe that every force of ground zero should be restoration forces. But again, what about Bui warriors? What about Red Dragon? So he had every right to create his own thing. And so when I talked to him, what did he tell me? He said, Mr. Vice President, back then I was director of cabinet. He said, look, the reason why we came up with FACO Action Force is because we don't want to carry our action and then that the credit goes to Reverend Ashton and his people and her people. So we want that when we carry our action, it is distinctive. We can identify our actions with our appellation. And I kind of agreed with him. But how did FACO end up being the way it was? The former vice president did a lot of work during the Berlin conference, when they went for the ASSE 1, that actually created the decentralization of our government. That includes the LGAs, the counties, and things like that. So I was kind of shocked that when he went into FACO, sent by the president to solve the problem, he went into Moyoka to solve the problem. Instead of telling all the 5 LGA chairs in FACO that go into a conclave as was prescribed by the APP law and elect your defense chair, he conducted an election in Moyoka involving everybody which was against the APP. So in a sense, what he did was he created more problems. He should have followed the law. He violated the APP law. That states that the people of the LGA will constitute themselves. If you have 5 LGAs within the county, the people of that LGA will elect their chairperson. And now amongst the 5 elected chairpersons of the various LGAs, they will sit in an executive council and make collective decisions. And amongst themselves, they will select, not elect, they will select one amongst themselves to be the county chair back then. Now it will be a coordinator. That's the way the procedure had to, that's the way it had to be. And then from every LGA, they will also elect a defense chair. And that defense chair of the 5 LGAs of that county will sit in one defense council, and amongst the 5 of them, they will choose one county defense coordinator. How can you be the vice president of Ambazonia and you violate the law? Was he trying to destroy the president in his own backyard? I talked about it in cabinet when I was fighting them there, when I started sensing that deliberate things were done to destroy the president. You cannot go to the president's county and cause such chaos. The vice president is not a fool. He's an educated man. How can you read the APP and you go and implement something different? Reverend Anson should have never become the defense chair of that county, because the election, when Abomba gathered the entire county, especially her supporters, to elect her, it was unconstitutional because it violated the APP law. Only if she was the defense chair of Victoria, then the other 4 defense chairs should have sat with her, amongst themselves, they choose one person. So Fomba should have been sitting there as the defense chair of Moyoka. She should have been sitting in that council as the defense chair of Victoria. Whoever was in Boya, Tico, and Edi now should have sat down. If 3 out of the 5 voted for her, I would have no problem. But the former vice president should have known that. He didn't know that. So when she became the fake defense chair, or whatever you call it, she was very close to the former chair of ACO, who is Mullah Edi, who hates the president with a passion. They connive, and you know what I mean. We don't know what they did with the draft money. They started accusing Fombat. How can you collect 65,000 cash from the draft? Fombat didn't get a dime from that. And then you can't, when the president said every country should give accountability to the Controller General, you refuse to submit yourself. I, as a director of cabinet, I'm the one who actually sent the Controller General into FACO. The president ordered me to do that. So I told the Controller, go to FACO, I'll audit them. They refused to come. Till today, we don't know what they did with the 65,000. And you know, one other thing I'm going to say is that a lot of these coup plotters, this is what they do. If you go and look at their resume, when someone does something unsavory, when someone steals, what do? They know that if President Sako continues, in their mind, they will thought if President Sako continues to be president, we will one day be held accountable. So the way to graduate from that thievery is to pretend that they are removing him, so that Ambazonian will just forget. But you know what? The 135,000 that was squandered by them, we will never forget, because it is our hard-earned money. The people of Ambazonia will never forgive these people. The people of Ambazonia will never forget what Dr. Epa did in that defunct Restoration Council, because it has disrupted our actions on ground zero, even though it hasn't destroyed it. And the reason why it hasn't destroyed it is because this revolution is God ordained. You can run your mouth and jump from hell to heaven, from heaven to hell. You are wasting your time. The people know the truth. You mentioned something about the APP before, the defunct APP. When Abongwa decided to use the APP, when Kometa ruled that the APP, their APP was a legitimate one, they started bringing AGF, all the enemies of the IG who hated Dr. Sako. That's why they were having 500, 600 people. And we're like, oh my God, Francophones, everybody. So in reality, They brought in our enemies and purportedly gave them the authority to impeach our president. That is treason. That is. So what happened? Now that they claim they have succeeded in impeaching Sako according to them, why do they have 38 people all the time now? Where are all the Francophones and the AGFs who used to come and whom they brought in to disrupt this government? Where are they? Where did they go? So that's why I say, Paddy, you know what? Evil shall never prevail in this revolution. No one is bigger than this revolution. And I made it clear before during my first interview when I became vice president, that I looked at the president. When this thing happened, I sat and I thought about it. I'm like, but what is going on? I picked up my phone and I called my president. I said, Mr. President, I have worked with you since 2018. And even before that, I was the coordinator of my state. Is there any truth to what is being said out there? I don't want to go out there and defend you and I feel embarrassed. The president said, Mr. Ateh, you have been one of my loyal collaborators. And I will tell you in your eye, there is no truth to it. And today I cannot be prouder. I'm so proud of Dr. Sako. Because if he had said that to me, and then if it turned out that he wasn't telling me the truth, I would have actually come down hard on him. But to see somebody who is completely innocent being rubbished, dragged in the mud, is heartbreaking. So that's why I will keep saying that if you're an ambassador out there and you have now realized that you were misled, please make amends. Make amends. Those ringleaders, let them forget. We don't want them. But those who were just, I would say, how did Rush Limbaugh put it? Low information followers. If you follow them out of naivety, and now you realize that they themselves are crying, that they don't have the evidence. How can you take somebody to court, you convict that person, you kill them, you bury them, and then you come back to the population and say, you know what, we are going to go and exhume that person, and then we present the evidence after we have already killed him. Are these people, do they know anything about governance? I know we are all learning here, but you know what? This is the height of hypocrisy and stupidity. It is very shameful what they did, or what they tried to do to this revolution. And if an Ambazonian out there who sits on Facebook insulting me, insulting Dr. Sako, you are insulting us. We are the good guys. Look at what these people are doing. Look at what they did to our revolution. Look at the division they have caused on ground zero. Anyone who sits on Facebook on this program on any
and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
They can say whatever they want. The fact of the matter is, you know what I mean? Not everybody who started with us will end with us. Some of them will drop out. Some of them get tired, and the majority of them don't even contribute anything. Some of them are francophones disguised as what they call Anglophones. They come here.
Mr. Ateh.
But guess what?
Mr. Ateh, this is Mr. Ateh, this is something. I want to intercept you a little bit. You say they have created division. If you say they have created division in the home front, that is an understatement. They have not only created division in the home front. As we speak, we have intelligence confirmed Mr. Ano actually calling fighters and asking them to kill other fighters. He is one of the architects of the confusion that is taking place in Goketunja. I want you to react to that very quickly, and we forget about Coopers. Then talk. We have about 20 minutes to talk about the award, and then take some calls before Ethics Commission comes up. So I want you to talk a little bit about this attitude where people feel that they can call fighters. And we have evidence as an intelligence that he is actually calling fighters, not just telling them to rebel, but to kill other fighters, to torture and kill other fighters, and beat them to submission, whatever he wants them to do. That's what he is currently doing. That is the crusade of what Ano is doing.
Let me say something. Paddy, you have the evidence, right? You said you have it. I will not comment on your evidence. I will comment on his own brother. Oliver Leke, because he's no longer a field marshal, Oliver Leke has received more money from this government than any other fighter on ground zero. But what happened? His brother, here in the diaspora, capitalized on his bravery to destroy him and to coerce him to abandon this government. If Oliver Leke, who used to be known as Field Marshal of the BLM, can abandon this president, well, it's his brother, right? But you know what? I would advise Mr. Adu to limit his anti-revolutionary activities within his own county and LGA, because you know what? In his own country right now, his brother is becoming more and more irrelevant. I remember that when I was director of communication in the Department of Self-Defense, before I became press secretary at the presidency, I used to get information from him, and he would just say, oh, thousands of troops are coming landing into Libya. And it was all hype to get more money to his brother. We promoted Libya. They will say, Field Marshal, oh, he just killed 3,000 soldiers. Lies. Now we know that this guy was lying because he's a pathological liar.
Unfortunately.
This is a man, Leke, Oliver Leke. At one point, he had committed a lot of crimes or whatever. The people of his country wanted to get rid of him. It was this president, President Sako, who brought them to order and said, you know what? No matter what he has done, you cannot kill him. Because if a son of Ambazonia has stood up to defend Ambazonia, he should never be killed by another Ambazonia. Today, this same Oliver Leke is making an audio insulting the president. So that tells you what kind of blood runs it through his veins. But you know what? Just go ahead, Paddy. I don't want to comment on what you just said about what is happening in Gotutunja. Maybe we'll leave that for another day. But I just wanted to make that clear to the Amazonian people that both of them are no good.
Now this is quite remarkable. I just want to remind Ambazonians that just about 2 months ago, the president sent about 2 million CFA to
after they purportedly impeached the president. He called the president.
He kept on calling. I am aware. He kept on calling the president.
His brother led a coup against the president. They foiled.
That was just 2 months ago.
He called the president and said, he called the president Daddy. He said, Daddy, I'm hungry. The president dispatched money to him. The president did not say, oh, your brother is doing this to me. No, the president gave it. But when they succeeded in taking the money from the treasury, the $40,000, he now saw that he doesn't have any need for the president anymore. And then he spat the president out. These are people of no integrity. While your own brother was trying to destroy the president, you were calling the president, telling the president you are hungry. You and your boys are hungry. And the president, after he raised money, he took money and sent to you. But as soon as your brother...
We're talking about the emergency... Mr. Vice President, let's put it in perspective. The emergency fundraiser that just ended, Oliver Leke benefited from it. Am I correct?
Like I said, whatever fundraiser that the president does, he prioritizes. He does sometimes. Fighters will come from general field marshals will come from everywhere, and he supports them. He supports Bui. All I know is that the president actually. That's why the president made an audio explaining to the Amazonian people. This is what I'm trying to. I'm trying to project the president as a humanist, and not me saying he's a humanist. He's actually a humanist. How can somebody's brother be trying to destroy you, and that same person calls you, crying and saying he's hungry and his troops are hungry? You still dispatch money and give to him. That tells you who Dr. Sako is. And that is why Ambazonians should be very lucky. Let me tell you something. I'm sitting right here as Vice President. This has been the honor of my life to serve under somebody like Dr. Sako. Because you know what? Every time I talk to him, I learn something. I learn something. Every time I talk to him, I learn something. He's an honorable man. I'm going to say that to them. I can proudly say that. And I know his trials and tribulations. I know the way he has suffered personally. I know that. I know when I call him and his family is in distress because he doesn't have. I know how he feels. I know when I talk to him, he said, "Oh my God, how can I serve my people so well and I'm still being bombarded by insults?" I watch him. When I talk to him, I see his pain. I feel it. He's a soft-spoken man. He's not like me. I say it as it is. But that's why God didn't make me president. God made him. Because if I were president, these people would have gotten hell from me. But you know what? Maybe I'm just not presidential material. Because I'm not as humble as he is. I'm proud of him. But I'm ashamed of what people did to him. How people created havoc in his own personal family life. How do you think his family feels? But you know what? He's a public figure. And I'm proud that he can stand strong and withstand whatever is thrown at him. And these are people who will not even have an ounce of courage to whack their finger in his face if they saw him in private. But they have the courage to come and hold a microphone and run their mouths. It is wrong. Even Chris who's sitting right here, you ask him, he knows me very well. He's been to my state a few times. I don't go out and insult him. I condemn the things that he does. But as far as I'm concerned, whatever he did that was good for this revolution can never be erased. But you know what? That is my opinion. But Ambazonians will erase him from their hearts if he continues to do the things that he does. It's wrong what Cristiano is doing.
Thank you. Mr. Vice President, right after this break, we're going to talk very briefly about the draft, and I'll see if you can take some calls because Ethics Commission is there. Madoroti watching this program is waiting to come up with his crew. So, but I'm going to see if you can take some calls. Just right after this break, we will talk about Award 22 that's being launched tomorrow and why every Amazonian must take it so seriously. Stay.
The number one most important thing for every Amazonian to do right now is to draft. Draft and draft and draft. People of Amazonia, draft.
Why the war draft is a must now. Fellow Amazonians, after 5 years of relentlessly fighting for the liberation of our homeland from the genocidal occupation of French Cameroon, it's very important that we remember why we are fighting and why it's so absolutely necessary that we continue to fund the struggle by joining the war draft and making even greater sacrifices than before. When the United Nations General Assembly in Resolution 1608-XV of April 21, 1961, granted independence to the Southern Cameroon's Amazonia, they did not expect that 61 years after, this territory will be forcefully annexed and colonized by a belligerent neighbor. It must be noted here that the territory of the Southern Cameroons had already attained self-government as early as 1954, a status we enjoyed up to 1972, when the state of West Cameroon, Southern Cameroons, was illegally annexed, overrun and occupied by French Cameroon. And because the Southern Cameroons within secure internationally recognized boundaries, she had a functional police force under the direct command of the Prime Minister and head of government, including a mobile paramilitary wing that played the role of a territorial self-defense force. It was this vibrant territorial force that was illegally and surreptitiously disbanded by the Yaoundé regime in the mid-60s, when our nationalist leader and head of government of the Southern Cameroons, Bobe Augustin Ngom-Jua, was overthrown by the creeping annexationist regime of Amadou Ahidjo. So as we enter another patriotic war draft and fundraiser for our violent restoration forces, we must remember that just as we restored Dr. Ndele's government on October 1st, 2017, we are also restoring our Territorial Self-Defense Force, now dubbed the Amazonian Restoration Forces, ARF. Charged with not only the defense of our country and our nation, but also with driving out for once the occupation forces of genocidal Cameroon. Taking part in the war draft for our Amazonian Restoration Forces is therefore a great patriotic duty that we must all embrace. As we speak, the country of Ukraine is under attack, with parts of her territory occupied by the Russians. We have seen how the Ukrainians have risen like one man to defend their territory, instituting a war draft that has prohibited men from the ages of 18 to 60 years of age from leaving the country. Not only are they not allowed to leave the country, but they're also compelled to take an active part in the defense of their country against the occupying forces of Russia. This is the same patriotic fervor that we expect from all Amazonians now in fulfilling our sacred duty of defending and freeing the motherland from the genocidal grip of Cameroon's occupation forces. Thousands of our young men and women have risen since 2017, picking up arms and fighting the occupation forces to the death. We've lost thousands with many more injured, while thousands more are in the bushes fighting day and night to drive out the occupiers. It's therefore imperative that those of us, especially those in the diaspora, that are not confronting the enemy on the ground play our part and fulfill a sacred duty of drafting, raising the funds, and providing the logistics that our restoration forces need to resist the occupiers. Fellow Amazonians, joining the draft and contributing generously is not a matter of choice for any Amazonia, but a sacred duty to oneself, family, and the nation. They say sacrifice makes gods of men, makes us sacred, so let us do our duty now. Our President, His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako, and the Resource Mobilization Department, headed by Comrade Ma Irene Ngwa, will be visiting each and every county soon for another round of the draft. Based on the current geopolitical atmosphere, this is a time for us to empower our restoration fighters on the ground to achieve some of our key strategic and military goals, to once more prove to the world that we are ready to not only reclaim, but to defend our country after liberation from any future aggression. By building a formidable, responsible, and credible self-defense force, Amazonians will be proving to the world that we are a responsible state and ready to play a constructive role in the Gulf of Guinea. The rest of the world is watching and waiting to see how capable Amazonians are in terms of establishing themselves as Africa's newest state. We must therefore make even greater sacrifices in our efforts to upgrade our valiant restoration forces as they lay their lives on the line to liberate Amazonia. As a footnote, we must remember that it costs between $3,000 to $5,000 to properly equip each restoration fighter to effectively engage the enemy. So as we look up to our boys on the ground, expecting results from them, we must first ask ourselves how far we've gone to empower them. We must first ask ourselves how much financial sacrifices we have made to provide them the means to fulfill their sacred duties. Fellow Amazonians, this is the time for us to draft until we drop. That must be our slogan and rallying cry now. And along the way, we should be asking ourselves some critical questions. Are we still enjoying 3 square meals a day while our boys on the ground lack the basic gear they need to resist the occupiers? Are we still living a life of luxury and comfort while our brave restoration forces lack medical supplies at the front? Are we still throwing big birthday bashes while our restoration forces lack basic communications equipment to maximize their efforts? Are we still going on cruises and expensive vacations while our IDFs on the ground go without food and logistics? Are we still finding excuses not to make the necessary sacrifices and drafting big while our restoration forces lack the game-changing equipment that they so desperately need to bleed the enemy? On a daily basis, How much are we putting aside for our liberation, knowing that only through fierce resistance are we going to liberate our beloved country? Are we providing the federal government and the CIC the means to carry out some of the critical intelligence and other special operations across the national territory? Fellow Ambazonians, as we ponder these questions, we must remember that a goal that is not funded is nothing but a wish. And we must not let Ambazonia die as a wish, because we fail to fulfill our patriotic duties by making the great sacrifices befitting of a great people. Fellow Ambazonians, the war draft once more is coming to your county. Stand up and be counted. No great victory was ever achieved than by greater sacrifices. We are enough, so let's draft, draft, and draft until we drop. Our existence as a people depends on that.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, that was an inclusive for the Award 22, thanks to Undaunted Crew. Fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen watching, we're coming to the close of this program, and like no other platform in ABC Amber TV, we've had a chain of programs. We started today with Pastor Commando and Pastor Victor. We entered with the Horizon and the women, and now exclusive discussion with the Vice President. And right on top of the hour, which I think we will intercept it a little bit, will be Ethics for an Emerging Nation, which you do not want to miss. It's a great content, very educative. Mr. Vice President, talk to us a little bit about Award 22. You have about 2 or 3 minutes to do that.
My fellow Ambazonians, thank you, Mr. Paddy. My fellow Ambazonians, the draft this year is very crucial because it's most importantly, a draft to make a statement to La République and their agents. It is very important that everyone comes out to draft. This Saturday, we have the executive draft. We are launching the draft today, but we are going to start the county drafts on the later date. All the counties and LGS have their individual dates that the president and his entourage and other Ambazonians will come in and draft each county or each LGA. Okay, that said, Paddy mentioned the fact that we have already drafted over $100,000. What does that mean? All the leaders, well, the various tiers of government. That's the leadership of the federal government, the Restoration Council, the county leadership, the LGA leadership. The leadership draft is this Saturday, just for the leadership draft. And then going forward, we're going to go from county to county and drafting everyone else. I encourage every county, LGA, federal government, House of Representative member to draft this Saturday during the executive draft. We really, really plead with you to do so, because this is a time for us to finish the last leg of our struggle and our fight with La République. We have done so much damage to them. We have proven to them that we cannot be defeated. They now know that even if they drag this thing to the next 20 years, we are going to keep resisting them, because we have able Ambazonians who are willing to keep contributing to defend our people. We are not going to their territory to attack them. They came into ours to attack us. And the people down there deserve to defend themselves. And we in the diaspora will have to actually make an extra effort this year to make sure that the men and women down there really have what they need. So I'm really pleading with everyone, every Ambazonian, to come out and draft for your LG and your county. And remember, don't listen to what the churches are saying. The fact is, this draft doesn't go to Sako. I think they benefited more from the 2021 draft because they stole money from the draft. 135,000 was stolen by them. They just went and took another $40,000. So how can you accuse Dr. Sako when you are the real thieves? When you extorted money from our LGS and counties? But guess what? They will pay that money someday. I really plead with everyone to endeavor to call their LGA chairs call their county chairs and start drafting. You don't have to wait until your county drafts. You have to, in your own LGA forum, you can contact your financial secretary and you start drafting. Put your name down. Even if you don't have the money to pay right now, go and pledge your $1,000. Let's make a big statement this year. Let's make a big statement to La Republique and all these coup plotters who are agents of La Republique. Why do I say agents of La Republique? I don't care if they talk to La Republique. The fact is, if you do things that enables La Republique to kill our people, you are an agent of La Republique. You are helping them inadvertently. That's why I call them that. So that's just the way it is. So I'm pleading with you all, please, please, come out and draft. Come out on Saturday. All executives, please come out and draft on Saturday. And then going after that, we'll go from county to county to draft everyone else. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's quite instrumental. I want you to take, I think, 2 more questions before we leave. Ambazonians are waiting and they want to know. I just want to inform Ambazonians, like I said, counties and LGAs are already doing. Yesterday, I was fortunate to accompany the president to Momo County, and the Moramwans and Momoans excitedly were drafting in their numbers. Notably, Madame Iringwa and her family drafted $3,000. I can remember that figure. It was sounded high. I understand others in different counties, like the Secretary of State for Communication, has already drafted and paid. And Mr. Vice President, this goes to you. I know you don't like to, you're a very humble man. In spite of what you do, you don't like to say it publicly. Now, from resource mobilization statistics, last year you drafted over $8,000. Now, in 2020, resource mobilization reported that you drafted close to 26,000 or 23,000. I'm not very sure, but I know it was above $20,000, and that is hard currency that you drafted. You drafted in your county, in different counties, and in almost every county you went through, you drafted $1,000 or $500, and you are the second in command. You are the constitutional successor of the president. You're drafting this big. What is your motivation?
Now what?
Motivation. Motivation.
Well, my motivation is that, I am in this thing to win it. That is my motivation. And I want everybody to understand that no one is in this thing for one individual. We are in this thing to win it. I was born in Victoria. I hail from Santa. And I'm going to draft in those 2 counties. Anything I give to any other person is goodwill. Every Ambazonia is required to draft $1,000. And that includes me. So if God helps and I have the ability to do more, I will always do more. I encourage everyone to come in and do more, because it's better to get $1,000 from 500,000 people than to get $20,000 from one person, or $10,000 from one person, or $5,000 from one person. So let's all go out and draft. Let's really make it count this year. This is really crucial. It's really crucial. You know what I mean? All of us here remember when all of us here remember when our boys still carried them guns. Now, you know what? They are equal to the task. I get rumors from the ground zero that the military will be down there doing checkpoints. They too will be down there doing their own. They don't cross each other's path, because you know what? And I think the stronger we become, the more possibility of peace we will attain. Because I know that when you are weak, you'll be killed. But when you are strong, your strength acts like I would say like a bulletproof for you. So La Republique are not just walking in their territory everywhere, just kill people the way they used to do it. So if we want that to continue being the way it is, we should go out and draft, so our boys can have the means to defend themselves. So we can also treat our people when they are wounded. We can also bring support to our mothers who are giving birth to the bushes. So draft is not just for self-defense. We are drafting other things. After the self-defense draft, we're gonna go to HSS. We have refugees in Nigeria. So let's just embrace that spirit of solidarity and patriotism and go out and just draft and draft and draft. Yeah. So I'm very excited about it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, for that. You have actually toured the counties with the president, and evidently, you know the ambience that is happening in the different counties, LGAs. This is your last question before we round up the production. What is your anticipation? What are your expectation for tomorrow? What do you expect? What should we think that we're going to see from your assessment?
Well, you remember at one point in this revolution, someone had made mention of the fact that the government is too big. So if we had, let's say, if we have 200 members of government, I mean, when I mean 200, I mean federal, county, LGA, restoration, House of Representatives, all tiers of government, Judicial Council, Ethics Commission. If we have 200, then I'm hoping that we draft 200,000. But I know that the people who have actually pledged, and some of them have actually paid right now, is over $100,000. So I'm hoping that we can push it to the point where every county executive, every LGA executive, every federal government executive drafts. The president has already stated his draft. I have also stated mine. And a lot of other people have. Like you mentioned, Maya Ringwa, she has already stated her draft. Nijo has already done so. The chief of staff, Yaya, has already done so. So many of us have already stated. So I think we're going to do good this Saturday. So I really pray for that. But you know what? We are not doing this because somebody asked us to do it. We are doing this because it is our responsibility to free our country. And we as leaders have to go in on this launching of the draft to actually draft. That way, when we go to the counties can also draft the people of their counties and their LGs. But I do believe that this year is going to be a big year for us. I just hope that, the Ambazonian people come out in their numbers and ignore the sad statement from what's his name again, Chris Anu? Asking people not to draft. If he loved Ambazonia so much, he won't be asking people not to draft. If they never drafted, they wouldn't have had them. They wouldn't have had the 135,000 for them to take.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President. Fellow Amazonians, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, the discussion was quite interesting. This is exactly 10 p.m. Amber time, and we were normally supposed to have, there is an audio of the president that we're supposed to have right now. There was an audio of the president that I wanted to play for us to close the program with. I just can't find it on the console right now. It's unfortunate. Well, thank you all for tuning in and joining this program. We cannot have a call. We cannot have call in right now because there's a program that has been scheduled to start right now, and you just have to wait and wait. And after this, tomorrow we'll have the Vice President again, the Secretary of State for Communication and Resource Mobilization representatives, and that will be during the pre-show before the draft. And all of that, you will call in to make your contributions, and I believe you will enjoy the discussion. Mr. Vice President, do you want to give a closing remark?
Yes, my fellow Ambazonians, thank you for being with you today. Mr. Paddy, thank you for hosting me. I really, really appreciate you. I think you are doing a wonderful job. And to my fellow Ambazonians, I just want to let you know, even though you don't see me very often, we are just trying and doing some work in the background. We have a lot of people to counsel down on ground zero. The president and I are calling our people just to give them some encouragement. We have a lot of explanation to do because sometimes information is power. If we don't talk to our people, they will be bought over by these lies. So we have to actually educate them. And I'm encouraging each and every one of you to take it as a responsibility to encourage, to educate someone else. If you know, like I know, that there was fallacy in this endeavor to push out the president. The greatest thing you can do for Ambazonia is to actually educate somebody else. Reach out to some of the people who followed them and ask them this question. You followed these people because you thought they were telling the truth, but now they themselves are coming out saying that, you know what, we didn't have any proof. So if you didn't have any proof, why can't you just apologize to the Ambazonian people and say, you know what, we made a mistake or we lied? We'll forgive you, maybe, but guess what? Let's endeavor to call people. Let's endeavor to just encourage people to accept that fact that it was all cooked up lies against the president, and encourage people to come and draft, because you know what? There is no time. There has been no time in the history of our nation that we have gotten so close. From 1961 till today, the only time that we have been so proud of our endeavors is during the administration of President Sako. They claim they have a government. Okay, what have they been doing? What have they been doing apart from going around trying to steal other people's money? You know what? Let's not go into that. I want to thank you all for hosting me today. Thank you for listening to me, and I really appreciate all of you. Please, let's draft. Thank you. God bless Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, for joining us and coming for this very important program. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Amazonians, tomorrow we're going to start the pre-show of our program very early. Our pre-show will be starting really very early enough, and every Amazonian, you can call in, those who intend to draft virtually and to make your calls. We will give opportunity for people to call in for at least an hour before 8 p.m. Amber time and before the draft begins. Until tomorrow, I would say it has been Tarh Paddy King. Have a good night. And just stay tuned, because right after now, I'll be behind the stage to enable that you watch Ethics for an Emerging Nation. Thank you.